All right, we're back again. Camera troubles are hopefully behind us, but you never know. We make no claims. We'll just see how this thing goes, and we're hopeful that with the new camera setup, the lighting, the microphone, the video, that we're finally gonna be able to bring these things to life. And get one of these posted on our website. Nightbrotherscommentary.com.
Sorry. Nightbrotherscommentary.weebly.com.
Well, and we'll eventually buy the domain.
Eventually.
And we'll bring it over accordingly. So we'll be working at nightbrotherscommentary.com. But if you want to see what we got so far, nightbrotherscommentary.weebly.com is where we're at right now. And who knows, maybe we'll do a podcast someday talking about Weebly, because I know you use that for a lot.
That is true.
A lot of our different stuff and content, blogs, etc. So with that, let's go ahead and kind of dive right into the podcast. We're talking about military customs. I believe the last full episode we did was about reform as it related to military fitness testing with our topics. So why don't we go ahead and just dive right in? Why don't you set the table for what we got, and we'll begin the discussion.
All right, so for me, I would say probably they've kind of come up with their own unique things. So for me, I just don't feel like now granted, there are going to be certain things that will have to be different just because, let's say, if you're in the Navy or Coast Guard, you just can't do all the same things that the Army, the Marine Corps, or the Air Force can, especially when they're on land.
Yeah.
So, but for me, I would say the first thing I want to address right now is just like how military members should be addressed.
Okay.
So, for the officers, both commissioned and non-commissioned, or even warrant officers, which we'll probably get into later, but I would say for just kind of like a brief overlay, warrant officers are essentially the technical experts in their field.
Okay.
But they rank above non-commissioned officers, like the enlisted members, but they rank below the traditional commissioned officers, like your second lieutenants or your ensigns for the Navy and Coast Guard.
Yeah.
So essentially, but anyway, getting back on topic, the way I would like to have them be addressed is either with their rank and last name, like Sergeant Rogers or Captain Rogers, or just surname.
Subtle MCU reference there. I know. Just happened to pick Rogers out.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
I had to call that out.
Or for the enlisted members, which is essentially, I would say, E4 and below.
Okay.
Basically, it would be their job, or MOS, which stands for Military Occupational Specialty, which is a term that's used currently just by the Army and the Marine Corps, if I'm not mistaken, because the Navy calls them ratings.
Okay.
And the Air Force calls them Air Force Specialty Codes.
Okay.
So that's another thing that I kind of want to address later on. But
to get those.
Yeah.
One acronym.
One acronym. Yeah, exactly. Because to me, it just doesn't make any sense just to have so many different acronyms for everything. It would be their job and MOS followed by their last name. So it would be like, if you're in the Navy, you would be like Yeoman, Sonar Man, or Logistical Specialist Jones.
Okay.
Or have their rank followed by their last name. So it would either be like Private or Sergeant Jones or Corporal Jones. So, I mean, that's just kind of the system that I had going on.
Yeah.
So for basic training, it kind of goes a little bit beyond that, especially for the drill instructors.
Okay.
So across all the branches now, basically you would either use their military rank and followed by their last name.
Yep.
So kind of like what we did before. But you could also call them drill instructor, drill sergeant, or drill petty officer if you're in the Navy or Coast Guard, because at the end of the day, they don't have sergeants. I mean, because their whole ranking system is way different.
Yeah.
Yeah, military training instructor, I kind of prefer that one. That one's actually from the Air Force.
Okay.
And recruit division commander, or RDC, that's what the Navy calls them. And if you're currently going through basic training, essentially what you would either be called a recruit or a trainee.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I mean, those two terms are kind of interchangeable anyway, so why do we have to have, like, I don't know, just limit it to one thing.
Yeah.
And the next thing that I would really kind of prefer when it comes to job-specific training, that would be either called Advanced Individual Training or AIT, which is how it's called in the Army, or MOS School, which is what it's called in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
Or rating school, because I would like to use the two terms interchangeably between MOS and rating.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to go through every single freaking thing here, because we're going to be here all day.
Yeah.
And I'll just leave that up to you, for the viewers, to just kind of like go through it and read it for yourselves.
As we've said before, all these notes and documents are intended to be published with the podcast. So you should be able to go through, and if you want to take a look at how Matt breaks all this down, we'll have the supplementary material.
So again, kind of moving on to, I would say, the weight chart, the height and weight charts that I kind of came up with.
Yeah.
Essentially, what I saw throughout my research is that the shortest anyone can be is 51 inches, which is really kind of short when you think about it.
Yeah.
But the tallest is it was 86 inches. Okay.
Okay.
So essentially, there's going to be like a wide gap. But
yeah.
So basically, I would say like the minimum weight you can be is about 91 pounds or 41 kilograms. Because at the end of the day, I will probably get into this in a later podcast, but I am in favor of adopting the metric system.
Yeah.
So I just kind of figured, hey, if I'm going to walk the walk, I might as well talk the talk. Or is it the...
Vice versa.
Yeah, vice versa. Never mind.
Vice versa. But I get your point. So you put the metric system in here as well as the...
Yeah, so essentially the largest weight that a man can be is, for someone that has 86 inches, is, I think it was
271 pounds?
Yep, 271 pounds. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you kind of have to address that someone of that height is got to be like a little bit bigger. But you also have to take into account that when it comes to this country, obesity is a huge issue.
Yep.
So you might as well like try to raise the weight a little bit just to try to accommodate for that, and also just allow for recruiters to actually have a little bit more leeway. Because if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure President Trump actually required the Army to have about 80,000 recruits last year.
Okay.
And it's probably going to be the same this year. I haven't double-checked. I'll try to double-check that as soon as I can. But the Army failed to actually get that.
To get the right number, or the requisite number of recruits.
Yeah, so
you're saying maybe broadening the gap to be more inclusive.
But also trying to have a high standard as well.
Yeah. There's a balance there.
Yeah, I mean, you have to find the balance. And again, I would say, probably the last thing I really want to kind of go over is the restrictions during your specific job training. Because after basic training, especially in the Air Force, is what I found. I actually kind of prefer the Air Force system the best.
Yeah.
Because it seems to be, I would say, the most lenient.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, I would say when it comes, I don't know. I'm not saying there shouldn't be a hard standard when it comes to academic and PT standards, but when it comes to like just actually living your life, I feel like there should be a gradual transition to something that's more like a civilian, but also having the high standards placed upon them. And I think the Air Force does it best.
Okay.
So
what are they doing right now that makes you say that?
Because basically when trainees go through technical school, which is what the Air Force calls their job training, there's specific phases that you kind of advance through as while you go through technical school to actually like get a little bit more rights. So for phase 1, essentially they can't drink alcohol. They have a daily curfew of 2200, which is essentially I think 10 p.m. And basically I have to eat at least 3 meals a day in the DFAC, which is essentially the chow hall or like the lunchroom, whatever.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot more standards. Like you really have to, you have to really make your bed and have your uniforms like so perfect, which that part doesn't necessarily change. But as you go through each individual phase, you'll get more rights. So basically you can get to go off base more often. or you can basically drink alcohol.
You're just getting a longer leash.
Yeah, you're basically just getting a longer leash, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because from my research, and if anyone who is a veteran or currently serving is watching this, and I don't know, if you actually know something, if I say something that's inaccurate, please
shed some light. Yeah.
Please enlighten us, because we would like to know. But essentially, yes. The point is, it does make more sense, in my opinion, to have a much shorter, like a much longer leash.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, they're still people, and they're still going to try to live their lives.
Right.
Now,
and they should be able to do that
and
serve our country.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing that I really don't like about the military is mass punishment.
Okay.
So essentially, let's say there was an incident that I was reading about 3 Marines who went off base, got a little drunk, and flipped somebody's car in Okinawa.
Yeah.
Which, again, I will never condone.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's just wrong. I mean, that's someone else's property.
Correct.
But anyway, back to the point. Those 3 Marines are not just the ones that get punished. Essentially, every Marine across the entire branch gets punished.
Mm.
So for me, I just don't really feel like that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you think about it, like, for someone a little bit younger, but especially for someone older like us, I would say it's demoralizing. It lowers their morale, because it's like, why do I have to suffer when someone else
makes a bad decision?
Especially if they're like 18 years old. I'm not saying these Marines were.
Right. I think, Matt, and I'm just playing devil's advocate for the sake of discussion.
Yeah.
I think probably the logic or the thinking behind it is that they're trying to create a culture where everybody's accountable for the success of the group. And the reason that they may do that is because in order, in that scenario, it was a couple of, bad eggs or bad, parts of the team that ended up flipping the car and making the whole squadron or the whole group look bad. When it comes to a real life, scenario where you're on a mission, if 3 people aren't on the same page and they're screwing up, that could jeopardize the lives of everybody.
Now, to be fair, I will grant you that. I'm not saying there shouldn't be mass punishment. What I'm saying is it should be on a smaller scale.
Here's the thing. I think that's fair. Yeah. But I do understand what you're saying, because, to me that takes a little bit of the accountability, I guess, away from the individual who should, they're the ones responsible for their actions.
Yeah.
And as much as you may want to influence and lead and try and do things in the right way, sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
That is true.
Well, what else do you have, or is that closing us out for this afternoon's show?
Yeah, I would say the last thing I really kind of want to cover is something that's really important.
Okay.
And that is sexual assault in the military.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to sit here and say it isn't a big deal, because it is. I mean, it's not going to. Because it's a big deal. I mean, it really is. I mean, regardless of whether you're a civilian or in the military, and it has to be addressed.
Absolutely.
But I think one thing that really does need to be addressed is accountability for both parties. Okay. I think if there is any allegation that comes along with the military, like let's just say a private in the Marines took some naked pictures of their fellow coworkers.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure that did happen. It's like I remember reading something about that. So
okay.
I know it's not technically sexual assault, but it's definitely like
it's crossing the line.
Yeah, it's definitely crossing the line. So it definitely has to be addressed. And I don't personally know if this is how it's done, but this is something that I think it should be done if it isn't.
Yeah.
I think there should be an investigation of both parties.
Yeah. You're talking about the one who is
the one who is being charged with the offense, and the one who is coming forward with the so-called charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the one who's coming out and saying, "Hey, so and so did this to me. I want justice."
And Matt, I think that speaks to a larger, and I understand the context within the military, but it does speak to a larger issue that's been, at the top of the media, circles for a long time now.
Yeah.
Whereas, maybe in years past, it's been a little taboo to talk about these things, and there has been a culture, not just, and I can't speak for the military, but just in general, of people trying to hush when sexual assault claims come up, people try to bury it and push it down, which I don't think is healthy at all. It's not right. But I do think in some cases now we're even seeing an overextension where people who really don't have a leg to stand on are coming out of the woodworks with false allegations.
So both inside and outside the military. So
it's really about
trying to have a balance, because here's the thing. There are a lot of people inside in the military now that do get sexually assaulted, and they should say something.
Absolutely.
But they should have solid empirical evidence to back their claim.
I agree. You have to create a culture where you feel comfortable and open saying something, whether it's saying something to a parent, a friend, a law enforcement member, a counselor, a teacher, whoever. That there should be. You should feel safe doing that, but at the same time, it shouldn't be so knee-jerk reaction that every time somebody does say something, then they're automatically guilty. We just throw innocent people guilty.
We literally just throw innocent people under the bus for no reason.
And we've seen that happen, and you know what? It probably has to happen that way, where you've had a culture for so long that did suppress these things and did look kind of upon you with shame if you brought it up, but now it has overextended. But I hope that we're working towards a culture where we can have, less of it overall. Where now that it's being brought to the forefront and there are consequences for the people who are actually guilty of these crimes, that it might deter them from doing them. But also I'm, I guess realistic enough to understand that the odds of us ever eradicating it entirely are slim to none.
Oh, absolutely.
So we have to have a system in place where both parties have a say. And we can figure out, okay, either this is an accurate claim or it's not.
And address it accordingly.
Exactly right. Military or not military. So
we kind of.
And we've talked about that, and we can. I'm sure that'll come up at some other time in this podcast. Again, everybody, let us know your thoughts. Chime in. We're not saying we have it all figured out, but I think it's worth discussing. So.
All right, so I would say the next topic we're probably going to talk about would be a more unified military ranking and promotion system.
Okay. Well, is that it for today?
Yep, that's it for today.
Night Brothers Commentary. We're out. Thanks.